Ms. Grishma Mani, student coordinator, dear students and colleagues and all the participants. ANCY Memorial Endowment, the Best Emerging Social Worker Award and the Lecture Series 1. It's been great pleasure for me to welcome you all to this very great occasion. Firstly, the endowment is instituted in the loving memory of our student, Miss ANCY Verghese. She, after joining MSW, had many dreams to develop and support her family and society. Those days I still remember.
Yeah, Renu, continue.
Okay. Now, the most awaited moment has come. It's a time to announce the ANCY Memorial Endowment, the Best Emerging Social Worker 2020-21, which has been given based on the following criteria. SGPA of all 3 semesters, various voluntary activities done by the student, research activities by the student, activities by the student in the national and international levels, various competitions participated, and responsibility taken by the student during the academic year 2020-21. Now, I request our respected principal, Father Dr. Jolly Andrew CMI, the principal of Christ College Autonomous Iringalakuda, to announce the award winner.
Father.
Should I announce the name?
Yeah.
Okay. After a long consideration, deliberation, and by taking into account the different parameters, the jury has unanimously come forward with the name of the Josmi Jose as the winner of the ANCY Memorial Award. Thank you.
Thank you, Father. I request Ms. Josmi Jose to speak a few words.
Josmi.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah. You can speak.
Hello. Very warm good morning to one and all being present here. Respected dignitaries, teachers, and friends being present here. I'm so honored to be here today and very grateful to be the recipient of this award. And very thanks to all the
MSW to share a few words about ANCY.
Thank you all. Good afternoon all. ആൻസിയെ പറ്റിയുള്ള ഓർമ്മകൾ പങ്കുവയ്ക്കാൻ ഒരവസരം തന്നതിലുള്ള നന്ദി ഞാൻ ആദ്യം തന്നെ അറിയിക്കുന്നു. വളരെ ചുരുങ്ങിയ കാലം കൊണ്ട് തന്നെ ഞങ്ങൾ എല്ലാവരുടെയും മനസ്സിലുള്ള ഒരിടം നേടിയെടുത്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഞങ്ങൾ 20 പേരിൽ ആരോട് ചോദിച്ചാലും ആൻസിയെ പറ്റി പറയാൻ ഒരുപാട് ഓർമ്മകൾ എല്ലാവർക്കും കാണും. കാരണം എല്ലാവരുമായി ഒരുപോലെ പെരുമാറിയിരുന്ന ഒരു നല്ല സുഹൃത്ത് ബന്ധം സൂക്ഷിച്ചിരുന്ന ആളായിരുന്നു ആൻസി. എല്ലാവരുടെയും ഒരു പ്രതിനിധിയായിട്ട് തന്നെയാണ് ഞാൻ ഇവിടെ സംസാരിക്കുന്നത്. ആൻസിയെ ആദ്യമായി കണ്ട ദിവസം ഇപ്പോഴും ഞാൻ ഓർക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. അന്ന് ഞങ്ങളൊരു സ്ട്രീറ്റ് പ്ലേയുടെ പ്രാക്ടീസിലായിരുന്നു. ചോദിച്ച ഉടൻ തന്നെ അവൾ അതിലൊരു റോൾ ചെയ്യാമെന്ന് സമ്മതിക്കുകയും പ്രാക്ടീസിൽ ഒപ്പം കൂടുകയും ചെയ്തു. അതിമനോഹരമായി ആ റോൾ അവൾ പെർഫോം ചെയ്തു. പിന്നീട് അങ്ങോട്ട് ആൻസി എന്ന സുഹൃത്തിനെ കൂടുതൽ അറിയാൻ പറ്റി. ചെറിയ കാര്യങ്ങളിലൂടെ അവൾ എല്ലാവരുടെയും പ്രിയപ്പെട്ടവളായി മാറി. പഠനത്തിൽ മികച്ചു നിന്നിരുന്ന അവൾ മറ്റുള്ളവരെ കൂടി ഹെൽപ്പ് ചെയ്യാനും ഒരിക്കലും മടിച്ചിരുന്നില്ല. ആൻസി എന്ന വ്യക്തിയെ, അവളുടെ സോഷ്യൽ വർക്കറെ ഞാൻ കൂടുതൽ അടുത്തറിഞ്ഞത് ക്യാമ്പിൽ വെച്ചായിരുന്നു. ഡാൻസ്, പാട്ട്, ആങ്കറിങ്, കുക്കിംഗ് തുടങ്ങി എല്ലാ ആക്ടിവിറ്റീസിലും അവളുടെ സാന്നിധ്യം പ്രകടമായിരുന്നു. എന്ത് കാര്യം ഏൽപ്പിച്ചാലും വളരെ ഭംഗിയായി അവൾ അത് കൈകാര്യം ചെയ്തിരുന്നു. ചെറിയ പിണക്കങ്ങളും സന്തോഷങ്ങളും ഒക്കെ നിറഞ്ഞു നിന്നിരുന്ന ക്യാമ്പിൽ ഇന്നും ആൻസിയുടെ ഓർമ്മകൾ തന്നെയാണ് കൂടുതൽ നിറഞ്ഞു നിൽക്കുന്നത്. മലക്കപ്പാറ നിവാസികൾക്കിടയിലെ പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങളിൽ പോലും ആൻസി വളരെയധികം സജീവമായിരുന്നു. ഒരുപക്ഷെ അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ ആവാം അവർ അപകടം നടന്ന സ്ഥലത്ത് ആൻസി കർവ് എന്ന് ബോർഡ് സ്ഥാപിച്ചതും ഇന്നും സ്നേഹത്തോടെ അവളെ ഓർത്തിരിക്കുന്നതും. കണ്ടുമുട്ടുന്ന എല്ലാവർക്കും പറയാൻ എന്തെങ്കിലുമൊക്കെ ബാക്കി വെച്ചിട്ടാണ് ആൻസി പോയത്. അതുപോലെ നല്ല ഓർമ്മകൾ സമ്മാനിച്ചിട്ടും കൂടിയാണ് അവൾ നമ്മെ വിട്ടുപിരിഞ്ഞത്. മറ്റുള്ളവരുടെ വിഷമങ്ങളിൽ പങ്കുചേരാനും അവരെ ആശ്വസിപ്പിക്കാനും എന്നും അവൾ ആഗ്രഹിച്ചിരുന്നു. ഒരു നല്ല സുഹൃത്തിനുപരി നല്ലൊരു സോഷ്യൽ വർക്കറെ കൂടിയാണ് നമുക്ക് നഷ്ടമായത്. അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെയാണ് നമ്മൾ ഈ എൻഡോമെന്റ് ടൈറ്റിൽ ഫോർ ദി ബെസ്റ്റ് എമർജിംഗ് സോഷ്യൽ വർക്കർ എന്ന് വെച്ചിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഈ ഒരു എൻഡോമെന്റ് വളരെ നാളത്തെ ഞങ്ങൾ ഏവരുടെയും പ്രയത്നത്തിന്റെ ഫലമാണ്. ഈ ഒരു എൻഡോമെന്റിൽ ഞങ്ങൾ സന്തോഷിക്കുന്നത് പോലെ തന്നെ മറ്റൊരു ലോകത്തിരുന്ന് അവളും സന്തോഷിക്കുന്നുണ്ടാവും. ഈ എൻഡോമെന്റ് വളരെ അർഹതയുള്ള ഒരു കരങ്ങളിൽ തന്നെയാണ് ഇപ്പോൾ എത്തിച്ചേർന്നിരിക്കുന്നത്. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഇനിയുള്ള വർഷങ്ങളിലും അങ്ങനെ തന്നെ എത്തിച്ചേർത്തെ എന്ന് ഞാൻ പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കുന്നു. ഞങ്ങൾ ഈ പടി ഇറങ്ങിയാലും ഞങ്ങളുടെ ഓർമ്മകളിലൂടെ ഈ എൻഡോമെന്റിലൂടെ ആൻസിയുടെ ഓർമ്മകൾ എന്നും ക്രൈസ്റ്റ് കോളേജിൽ നിലനിൽക്കട്ടെ എന്ന് ആത്മാർത്ഥമായി പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കുന്നു. ഒപ്പം ആൻസിയുടെ കുടുംബത്തിന് വേണ്ടി പ്രാർത്ഥിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് നിർത്തുന്നു. താങ്ക് യു ഓൾ.
Thank you, Gayatri. Moving on to the felicitation ceremony, I would like to invite Father Dr. Wilson Tharayil, CMI, the Self-Financing Director, Christ College, Autonomous Iringalakkuda, to deliver the felicitation speech.
Father.
കേൾക്കാവോ? എന്നെ കേൾക്കാവോ? ഹലോ ഹലോ
കേൾക്കാം ഫാദർ.
ഹലോ
കേൾക്കാം ഫാദർ.
ഓക്കെ, കേൾക്കാം. Respected Father, Principal Julie, and all the teachers and non-teaching staff, and my dear students, I congratulate the department at first, but at the same time, few words about your this endowment. You know, ANCY is always with us. Still, she is living with us. I think he is the representative of Christ College. In our heaven, she is the representative of our department as well as our college, and he is the representative of our college. I think like that way. And you are always saying about ANCY Joseph, she was very good enough. She was very good. His behavior and everything, the social work, enthusiasm and everything is very good. She is a model for us, I think. For our department, she is a model, and we are always remembering. That's why you conduct an endowment in her name. And I congratulate all the students, teachers, and everybody for conducting this endowment program. And at the same time, what I am saying, you know, that the God, that Rosemary, you have the first time you are getting this one, and the first person also. I congratulate you. I am thinking one thing, like I am adding one thought with this ceremony, like this way. The great educationist John Dewey, you know, he's always saying that education is always do with the society. The society is more important, and we are learning a lot of things from the society, the people. And social work department is a special department, and we are learning, and we are working among the people, and we are learning a lot of things from the people, the society. And his philosophy is like that way, practical philosophy. And I appreciate this group of social work department, teachers as well as our students. You try to, with the people, you please try to live and learn and do something for the people. I think according to the Christ College, We are very much proud of your department. A lot of opportunities and a lot of future is there. We expect more than any other department. So teachers and students, try to do good for the people in and around Christ College, in and around Trichur district, and in around Kerala and abroad also. You have that ability. Try to think and develop, and you have the ability to develop this department. Thank you very much. I am. It is a sad time also, because I heard the crying of our ANCY's mother. That also a learning thing. More than everything, a mother's cry, the love. And I'm sure ANCY is with Jesus, God. She is in the hands of God. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to give a felicitation. Thank you very much to everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Father. Next dignitary to honor us with his presence is Dr. Robinson P. Punminisheri, IQAC Coordinator, Christ College.
Thank you. Respected Principal of the College, Dr. Jolie Andrews. Today's eminent speaker, this is Ritha Panicker. HOD of the department, Rosemary George, and my dear students. It gives me a great pleasure to address this gathering. Truly, I remember all the occasions happened 2 years before regarding our best student, ANCY. I remember the incidents at the hospital, everywhere. It was a very sad situation for the college, for the whole college. But I would like to congratulate the department and especially the classmates of ANCY to come forward with a very nice occasion at this time by offering an endowment in the name of their beloved friend. This is a great time for the department, great time for the college to honor a student, the best student of Christ College like this. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the Department of Social Work for coming up with this endowment. Now, regarding today's talk on the issues, on the social work issues, I just went through yesterday the profile of today's resource person, and it's very nice to have such a very outstanding resource persons today for your talk today. As a founder and an educator of butterflies in Delhi, and her profile is very nice. I would like to hear her entire talk, and I would like to congratulate and I offer the best felicitations for this social work seminar. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, I request Dr. T. Vivekanandan, Academic Coordinator of Christ College, to deliver the felicitation address.
Warm good morning to one and all. I hope you hear me.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. The respected principal, Reverend Dr. Jolie Andrews, Reverend Dr. Wilson Tharail, Director, Self-Financing Programs, Robinson Punminisheri, IQAC Coordinator, Mrs. Ritha Panicker, the eminent person in the social work or scenario, HOD and Coordinator of Social Work, Mrs. Rosemary, and Coordinator of this program, Mr. Sajit, and Student Coordinator Grishma, and dear parents of beloved students ANCY, and other distinguished members who are gathered here during this occasion. As our Reverend Father Principal mentioned, I am amidst you with a mixed feeling. On one side, I am deeply saddened by the demise of our beloved ANCY. And other side, I am immensely happy that the Department of Social Work is organizing an endowment lecture and also have established an endowment in the name of ANCY. I really appreciate and congratulate the entire crew of the Department of Social Work for establishing this seminar in the name of our beloved ANCY. By this endowment, I hope and I am sure that ANCY will remembered and she will be in our heart and mind, and also will be remembered by the forthcoming generations of the Christ College. I also extend my congratulations to Mr. Saijit for organizing such a wonderful program in commemoration with the ANCY. ANCY, as we all know that, she is not only the best student of the social work department, but also one of the best students of Christ College. And it is very apt that social work department has created an endowment on her name so that she will be remembered forever. And I congratulate the maiden winner of this endowment, Ms. Chomsi Jose, for her wonderful achievements, and he has been awarded with this ANCY's endowment the first time as it is established this year. I wish her all success in his future endeavor. I finally appreciate the entire members of the department who are organizing a wonderful webinar on this occasion to commemorate our ANCY. And I also offer my sincere prayers to the parents and the family members of ANCY. Thank you for this opportunity. Once again, I wish you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Mr. Saijit Ennas, Program Convener, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Lina. Good morning, everyone, all the dignitaries. It's a matter of pride for me to propose a vote of thanks for this warm gathering. We, the Department of Social Work, along with the college management and student fraternity, have decided to conduct an endowment in the name of ANCY every year. Today, we are gathered here to commemorate her. ANCY did her graduation in the science stream, and later she took the MSW course only because of her sheer passion and dedication to social work. She was enthusiastic and active in all academic and regional social service activities. And she had a tremendous charisma, which she always spread around. As ANCY's class teacher and the convener of this program, I feel so gratified and overwhelmed to initiate this endowment for such a model student of our college. Let's come to the duty. First and foremost, our dear principal, our backbone, Reverend Father Julian to CMI, who was always providing his wholehearted support for all the activities in the name of dear ANCY. As a convener of this program and on behalf of the social work department, I extend my sincere gratitude to you, Father. Now, I would like to thank Reverend Father Jacob Nirinyambali, our manager of Christ College. Even without his presence, he provided the wholehearted support, and we are truly grateful for your moral and mental support throughout the difficult situation. And next, I would like to thank Rosemary ma'am, who has been with us from the beginning phase of this program. Thank you, ma'am. Next, Dr. T. Vivekanandan is the academic coordinator of our self-financing wing. He's a go-to person who offers immense help for anything at any time. I, on behalf of everyone gathered here, thank him from the bottom of my heart. And next, I take this occurrence to thank Reverend Father Wilson Tarai, who is the director of our self-financing wing. And thank you for all the support, Father. I also extend my gratitude to Dr. Robinson, sir, who gave us all the guidance and stood with us through these days. Thank you so much, sir. And we have been fortunate to have Mrs. Ritha Panicker presenting the session today as part of ANCY's endowment. And thank you very much, ma'am, for accepting our invitation. Last but least, I extend my sincere gratitude to all the colleagues of my department, all the teachers of my college, and students from the different colleges, students from the social work department and other institutions, the student coordinators and the committee members of this program, ANCY's dearest parents, social workers, and everyone who gathered here for making this program a big success. Once again, with my sincere gratitude to all of you, I conclude my words. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. With this, we come to an end of our first session. I thank all the dignitaries, each and everyone who is present here for setting us their valuable time and for being a part of the ANCY Memorial Awarding ceremony. Thank you all. Now I welcome Ms. Renu George, first year MSW student, with continue to the next session.
Thank you, Alina, and good morning to one and all. Moving on to the next session, as a part of ANCY Memorial Endowment, the Department of Social Work, Christ College Autonomous Irinalakuda, has decided to conduct lecture series from this year onwards. The major motive behind this series is to enlighten us with various social work aspects which are essential for social workers. And today we will be discussing about the topic social work in the 21st century perspective and scope. For that, I would like to introduce today's speaker, Mrs. Ritha Panicker, the founder and director of Butterflies, an NGO in Delhi. She is the founder and director of Butterflies, a non-governmental organization in New Delhi, which is working to protect and empower street-connected and vulnerable children since 1989. She has completed her MSW from the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. Later, she did a master's in developmental studies from the Institute of Social Studies in Netherlands. She was also a faculty member in the Women's Studies Unit at Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. She was one of the founders of Marshall, Pune, an NGO working in the area of housing rights. She has published several papers on child rights issues and also co-authored a study on children in conflict with law. With utmost pleasure, I welcome Ms. Ritha Panicker to start with the session on the topic social work in the 21st century perspectives and scope.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Jolly Andrews, Principal, Christ College, Dr. Wilson Thariel, Director, and the faculty of the Department of Social Work, and Rosemary George, Head of Social Work Department, for inviting me to this event and to the students attending this lecture. It is a privilege to be giving an address at the ANCY Memorial Lecture Series. It is also a poignant moment when we remember ANCY workies who under very tragic circumstances lost her life. ANCY might have had dreams, hopes, and aspirations to contribute in the field of social work, and it will continue in her name with the Endowment Fund and an award for the most promising social worker. My congratulations to Ms. Josmi Jose for winning this award. I would also like to take this opportunity to pay my respects to ANCY's parents, Mrs. and Mr. Varghese. When I accepted the invitation to deliver the keynote address, I started to think, what is it that I should focus on, speak about to aspiring social workers that will inspire, encourage you, and to realize that you have chosen a professional course that opens your mind to learning and exploration of society as a long-time mission. Every profession, be it medicine, engineering, law, management, technology, science, crafts, art, agriculture, so on and so forth, have a valuable role to play in our lives and in society. The difference, or rather distinctiveness, of social work profession is that we engage with the poorest, marginalized individuals and communities and walk along with them to create opportunities and space for their voices to be listened to by the powers that be. Make a difference in their lives so that there is equity and equality. Social work research also critically analyzes development theories and are able to bring a paradigm shift in our approaches and strategies in elevating poverty and to bring about an equal and just society. So what are the implications for social work education in the present times? What should be our perspectives and our scope? COVID-19 has thrown a number of challenges to social work education, as well as opportunities to assess and review social work education curriculum. It's an opportunity to innovate and develop new courses or specializations that will create a community of practitioners and researchers to study new emerging social problems and test new approaches and strategies in the field. There is no doubt that there is dire need for new theories to emerge to understand evolving social institutions, socioeconomic, political, and psychological problems of present-day society. In the coming years, socialization patterns, human relationship will depend, or rather, it revolve around technology and its influence on our lives. The structural inequities in society will have another dimension, that of a technological divide. There'll be sections of society who will be technologically challenged, leading to further marginalization. Sociology, one of the main courses that is taught in social work education, I would say that while teaching the intersectionality that exists in our society, it should be taught from the lens of politics and caste reality, including class, ethnic communities, and religious minorities in our society. Counter the intersections of injustices. The multi-dimensional poverty in India is entrenched in structural inequalities, resulting in a section of the society, the Dalits, the Adivasis, the religious minorities, especially the Muslims, caught in a war for generational poverty. The youth and children who belong to these communities are the ones left behind from accessing progress and development. It is important for students to understand that social reform, or rather development, must focus on dimensions of class and caste, but also economic hegemony in the communities. Yes, you need to question the economic hegemony that is continuing generational poverty in our society. Christ College Social Work Department has two very important specializations: rural and urban community development and medical and psychiatric social work. I'd like to share my thoughts on community development, its relevance and importance, even more so in present times. The COVID-19 induced pandemic is believed to be the crisis of the century and has unimaginably impacted one and all, but it has severely impacted the marginalized and vulnerable communities. The vulnerabilities of the poor, marginalized population have increased double-fold with the meltdown of the economy during the pandemic. A recent study by King's College London and Oxfam estimate that the increase of population living in extreme poverty due to the pandemic in India is anywhere between 400 million to 620 million. The worst hit is the informal sector. The Economic Survey of 2018-19, released in July 2019, says almost 93% of the total workforce in India is informal. According to the Monitoring Indian Economy of 2020, 119 million workers lost their jobs within the first week of the lockdown. This number will inevitably increase in the coming months and years. The traditional occupations are no longer viable, nor are there any viable alternatives for a livelihood in the countryside. The women and men in the informal economy, a statistical picture, which was a report of ILO, which was released in April 2018, states that informalization of labor is highest in Nepal and India. It is 91%. The worrying tendency of the informalization of the formal will further lead to insecure work and poor wages. This trend will be adopted in most of the formal sectors in the coming months and years, leading to larger numbers of workers being part of the contractual labor force with no social securities. The social security for the workers in unorganized sector is non-existent and poorly executed even after the promulgation of the Unorganized Workers Social Security Act of 2008. In fact, only about 5 to 6% got enrolled for Social Security. The Economic Survey of 2018-19 says that the law does not cover all wage workers and that 1 in every 3 wage worker in India has fallen through the crack. The workers in the informal sector have no legal protection. The pandemic showed us starkly the fault lines that exist in our society, the inequities that exist but ignored by the state. In fact, last year, the media visibly brought the pictures of the poor casual laborers walking back home to their villages, walking miles. That's when it really hit a lot of middle class about the poor in our country. As I mentioned earlier, it is the politics of economy, caste, class, and religion that have marginalized the large sections of our population and kept them landless with no assets, illiterate and unskilled. Majority of them are part of the informal migrant workforce, which was badly hit during this period. So are artisans, craftsmen, whose occupation have come to a standstill. The marginalized communities are further deprived access to government welfare schemes, as majority of them do not possess legal documentations, such as the Aadhaar and ration cards. The survey conducted by Azim Premji University in May 2020 of 3,970 urban households found the families had less than a week's cash in hand to buy essentials. 64% of the casual daily wages had no Jan Dhan bank account for cash transfer, the very popular program which has been touted in the media. Furthermore, the poor do not avail of the various welfare schemes available for persons living below the poverty line due to lack of knowledge of the same. Therefore, the community development course, which teaches the fundamental theories of community development, community participation, community organization, advocacy, knowledge of the existing policies, laws, and programs for the various sections of the marginalized community, there is also the need to include sustainable livelihood studies, tapping on global research studies of successful initiatives across the globe and nationally for small marginalized primary producers organizing themselves. The importance of improving household income directly relates to progress and advancement of marginalized communities and prevent them from being in vulnerable circumstances. There's no doubt that the economic empowerment of the marginalized is the bedrock on which a community will have the opportunities to advance, develop, and progress, and break the cycle of generational poverty and illiteracy. Here, I would like to add that cooperatives could also be included as an elective while teaching community development course. Cooperatives as an economic model for the poor marginalized primary producers is a way forward. The Milk Producers Cooperative Federation, Fishermen's Cooperatives and Weavers Cooperatives are some successful cooperatives that have resulted in transforming the lives of the marginalized. The cooperative movement has not expanded to other sectors as visualized by Mr. S.K. Day, the first Union Minister of Cooperation and Panchayati Raj in independent India. Mr. Day believed in sustainable livelihoods and collective ownership of the means of production and wealth generated to be with the poor, marginalized farmers, artisans, craftsmen, and primary producers. There is a revival of cooperatives in US as small producers are being inched out of the market by the big corporates. So also in Europe. Having said that, cooperatives cannot be a panacea for all economic activities. Furthermore, cooperatives, if not managed on the principles of cooperatives, there is a danger of it being controlled by a coterie of members of the cooperative. So there has to be check and balances, continuous engagement of all the members to understand and exercise their roles and responsibilities. Kerala has the Kudumbashree initiative, which has taken the women's self-help groups concept and initiative a step further. In fact, it has gone beyond the microcredit, which was initiated by Yusuf in Bangladesh. It's something for the rest of the country to take on. The Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme could be used to create economic assets. Kerala state government has encouraged individuals to invest in sustainable livelihoods under the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. This helped a number of beneficiaries to use the funds to invest in animal husbandry, poultry farm, and other sustainable livelihood options. Perhaps today, there is a need to repurpose, upskill existing skills people have in this age of continuous disruptions to meet the market demands of today to create assets and income for themselves. The way forward to break the existing economic hegemony would be to organize the small marginalized communities for collective ownership of means of production and wealth. And this is absolutely essential if we want the poor to break the cycle of generational poverty. Coming to the other very crucial area in social work, which I see today in the 21st century is going to be of massive importance, and that is mental health and emotional well-being. The specialization in medical and psychiatric social work will emerge as an important area of practice and research. Social casework and group work, as well as family therapeutic care, should be a mandatory course with concurrent practicum in the first and second semester. Social and environmental factors and a person's psychological and behavioral responses play a crucial role, a very crucial role in determining social and emotional well-being, especially in such an unprecedented times we are living. Mental health is an important area of social work. In fact, presently and in future, mental health will be a cross-cutting intervention in development work. This is one area that will have to be aligned with all work we do with our target population. Furthermore, there's a need to do research on technology and its impact on people's mental health. There are global studies and a few in India. However, this is an area that needs further research based on which social casework theory and practice could be reviewed and enhanced. Children are affected and addicted to the virtual world. It is causing a number of psychological problems, difficulties in positive social relationships, online sexual abuse, increase of risk and problematic behavior among adolescents. Specialization in medical and psychiatric social work will emerge as an important area of practice. Last year and a half, and I must say even today, has revealed to us the importance of mental health and being emotionally well. The pandemic resulted in economic distress, lockdown, isolation has adversely impacted the mental health of people. There is an increase in clinical depression among all ages of people. It hasn't missed out anybody. It's not just the poor, the middle class, the upper class, the elite. Everybody has been affected by this isolation. There is an increase in clinical depression, as I said, among all ages of people. Mental health of children was severely affected. Children experience emotional distress during this period of uncertainty in their lives. In our work with children in Delhi, several of them were worried about the loss of household income and financial crisis of their families. They were worried if they would be able to go back to school. Majority of them had problems accessing the internet as they did not have laptops, tablets, or individual smart cell phones, nor the resources to pay for recharging of cell phones. One of the stresses was of falling back on their learning levels. Girls were worried that they might be sent back to the villages and married off. Children missed going to school, meeting friends and relatives. All of them live in small, congested space, and they find it very stifling. You must understand that the slums in metropolitan cities are not the best places for anybody to live. They're very congested. In fact, you can hear your neighbors when they talk. And the children were restless to go out and play, spend time outside the confines of their one-room living space. Younger children were distressed and did not understand the restrictions, causing them to be irritable, resulting in scoldings and beatings from parents because they were getting into each other's hair. The insecurity of the parents translated into arguments, physical violence, and anger, which got transferred onto their children. There was less consumption of food and other essentials, which also translated into unhappiness and frustration. Children called Childline, the 24 helpline services, and reported about bullying from neighborhood acquaintances. Toxic comments were posted on WhatsApp by classmates. Children also complained of disturbed sleep, as their sleep patterns had changed due to staying up late to do their homework, as the family had to share one smartphone among themselves. The negatives of children using internet for long periods, unsupervised, and without adult guidance, has resulted in an increased numbers of children being trapped into the dark websites and chat rooms, resulting in online sexual abuse of children. The data collated by the National Crime Records Bureau suggests that from March 2020 till August 2020, there was a total number of 13,244 child pornography and online sexual abuse complaints lodged in the National Cybercrime Reporting Portal. this is an area of concern. This really is an area of emerging concern with reference to children being sexually violated online, and later the abuse takes place offline. Furthermore, there's a need to do research on technology and its impact on people's mental health. There are global studies and a few in India. However, this is an area that needs further research, based on which social casework theory and practice could be reviewed. Children are affected, as I said earlier, and addicted to the virtual world. It is causing a number of psychological problems, difficulties in positive social relationships. As mentioned earlier, online sexual abuse, increase of risk and problematic behavior among adolescents. And today, telecounseling is being used as a mode of counseling due to restrictions in having a face-to-face counseling sessions. A number of toolkits and manuals have been developed within the country and globally on psychosocial therapeutic methodologies. In fact, there are numerous webinars and training programs for counselors on telecounseling methodology. However, it must be mentioned that telecounseling cannot be a substitute for face-to-face counseling or social casework, especially for children and adolescents. We found that children found it extremely difficult to access a mobile phone for a dedicated period of time and have a private space to attend a session, nor be able to communicate the emotional distress through the phone, especially when there is no privacy. You have to remember, these are children living in congested one-room tenements. Furthermore, a child needs the physical presence of the caseworker or counselor. They need a comfort level and the reassurance that the adult is listening and taking cognizance of what they are communicating. Children really watch the social caseworker. They get a lot of information by just looking at the body language of the caseworker if the person is believing what the child is saying. So therefore, observation of the body language of the child will give an insight also to the therapist about the emotional status of the child. It is of grave concern of reports of a high incidence of adolescents committing suicide during this pandemic. These incidents need to be studied further to understand the causes that push the child to the brink of psychological collapse, that he or she took such an extreme step. This would also inform practitioners of the relevant interventions required in normal times and during a prolonged emergency situation. In Butterflies, along with social casework, we also have family therapeutic care. We use social casework therapeutic methodology to address the issues of domestic violence, substance use by parents, lack of bonding and involvement as a caregiver. I'm one of the staunch proponents of social casework. Our work with children, families, communities, schools will be incomplete without social casework. It is integral to the well-being of the person. Emotional well-being translates into positive social relationships, ability to solve problems, and wherever necessary, make the personal and environmental changes. Mental health, or as we call it, emotional health interventions, cuts across all our programs in Butterflies. It does not work in a silo, but is part of all our work with children, parents, or communities. Today, human relationships, institutions of family, communities, neighborhood are evolving and changing. Therefore, the necessity to work at the fundamental level of a person and family becomes important so that we do not lose our roots, our history, but to have a robust support system within our families and communities and peers. I would advocate for strengthening the specialization on family studies in social work education. Why am I saying this? It comes from my years of work as practitioner among children, families, communities, and other stakeholders, such as schools, health, and the juvenile justice system. Family studies specialization is an important area of social work education. In our work with children and families, we have found that parenting has become more complex in the present technology-driven society. Family is, of course, a primary institution where the socialization process takes place. But with the overload of information and adults and children spending more time in the virtual world, it has had an impact on family, which may not always be positive. In a research study conducted by Dr. Saju Parakal and myself on children in conflict with law, one of the factors that pushed adolescents to spend more time outside the home and indulge in risk behavior was a lack of bonding in the family. The adolescents mentioned there was hardly any conversations between them and their parents. They felt their parents did not know them, their thoughts, their feelings, their aspirations, or even their individuality. They did not experience positive support within their families. The adolescents formed a separate support system of their peers apart from their families. This support system became a major influence in their lives, one of the factors that pushed them into risk behavior. Social environment has changed from what it was 35 years ago. The neighborhood support system, its cohesiveness is not there anymore in urban or in rural India. Families have to evolve and democratize, wherein there is space and respect for everyone's agency. The patriarchal values need to be broken and relationships nurtured on equality. Furthermore, parenting is not any simpler today. It is complex. We need to know the art and science of parenting, but also understand the agency of our children and spouse, the power of technology, and how it is impacting our lives. Technology has made information accessible at a touch of an icon on our smartphones and laptops. A lot of the information downloaded by children, adolescents, one does not know how they decode it in their minds, in their brains. It is a common sight to see a family sitting in one room, but having no conversations with each other, as each one of them are busy with their cell phones. This has resulted in a very subtle way, the alienation and a lack of bonding. The stress for the poorer, the marginalized people, the communities, the stress of a regular income, lack of resources, substance using parents or a child, and its negative impact on the family have to be recognized and understood and addressed. Unfortunately, in the last 25 years, we have been addressing these issues, which we term, quote, child protection, in a very lopsided manner. There is an urgency for the state and civil society organizations to reflect on child protection issues and programs that are evolved around it. I've always maintained that child protection issues are rooted in survival and development issues. We have analyzed child protection through the lens of children in crisis, failing to address the fundamental issues of a family in crisis. All the agencies, both the civil society organizations and government, come into action after a family has dissolved due to multiple factors, such as economic distress, poor health, violence, caste and ethnic discrimination, lack of documentation and therefore inability to access welfare schemes, exclusiveness in schools that keep children out of schools. The focus and resources should be targeted on how to support the family and make it sustainable and viable, and not wait for its collapse to get into action. And that's what we have been doing. There has to be a systems approach wherein all the agencies and stakeholders come together to prevent the dissolvement of a family. This requires professionally trained workforce. And here is when you need professionally qualified social workers. You need effective child protection system, adequate resources, standards and monitoring mechanisms, and a robust data management system. I would also like to speak about social science research, because this must be given a lot of emphasis in our social work education. We do it, but we need to really relook at it and give it the prominence it requires. It is important for a professional social work practitioner to conduct research, to understand new emerging social, cultural, and economic problems. Practice and research go hand in hand. There cannot be one without the other. Unfortunately, social work practitioners separates these two domains. The rich empirical evidences required to be analyzed if practitioners have to test theories, approaches, and strategies. Therefore, a thorough course on social science research methodology would prepare students to engage in research as significant numbers of graduates would choose to be practitioners. Research, process documentation, assessments, data management, analytical report writing is an essential skill set in a professional social worker. Having said that, I would also say that monitoring, evaluation, and learning is another area that should be taught as part of the social science research course. This is a basic requirement in all field programs today. Every NGO needs it. Most often, the monitoring, evaluation, and learning professional is not necessarily from the social work background, but from other social sciences stream. Monitoring and evaluation is intrinsic to learning and assessing the impact the intervention has had on the target group. It's so very important. It is a sad commentary that most professional social work practitioners lack this theoretical knowledge. Today, this knowledge and skill is essential to all organizations to measure the impact of the interventions, and in research organizations to evaluate if the outcome of the research study has translated into a policy shift. The monitoring and evaluation and learning is helpful in making midterm corrections, gathering of empirical data for further research and knowledge creation. And today, I would say with the pandemic, it has made us to relook at some of the specializations that we have in the schools of social work. We do need to have a specialization in disaster and emergency management, or at least as an elective, which would create a cadre of professionals, knowledgeable and skilled to work with affected people during emergencies. The course content should include refugee crisis as well. Refugee crisis is a growing global issue, and many countries are grappling with it, especially of unaccompanied children crossing borders. The legal phrase used internationally to describe them is children on the move. I like to say that last year, an American organization that gives legal support to unaccompanied refugee children called us, as there were two boys from Punjab who had illegally crossed the border to San Diego, US from Mexico. And the social workers didn't understand their language because they spoke only Hindi and Punjabi. And so they wanted us to help them to trace their journey and document the story. Therefore, trained professionals would be an asset to any national and international humanitarian organizations working with refugees and displaced populations. During this pandemic, we realized the need to have professional social workers who could mobilize, organize relief operations, systematic mapping of persons in need of support, collate data, as well as support adults and children in need of therapeutic care. There is no doubt that social work profession should have as its framework democratic values of equity, equality, gender, age, ethnicity, plurality, and diversity. Professional social workers in their work should demonstrate values of democratic participation, consultation, and dialogue. The moral courage to stand on the side of justice, which is so very important today. It is important for a professional social worker to have the thirst to learn, explore new areas of study, evaluate his or her work, and take the risk to think out of the box, innovate, and develop new approaches and strategies in an intervention. It goes without saying that research must be the bedrock on which fieldwork, that is program, is planned and implemented. This would enrich and add to the existing body of knowledge. Furthermore, while working with the poor, disadvantaged communities, respect their lived experiences and knowledge. Here I would like to quote Lao Tzu, the Chinese philosopher, who articulates the essence of participation and the core value of social work practice. Quote, go to the people, live with them, love them, start with what they know, build with what they have. But of the best leaders, when the work is done, the task is accomplished, the people will say, we have done it ourselves. What better way than to put it for us social workers who work with communities? In conclusion, I'd like to say, my best wishes to each one of you as you embark on your journey in the field of social work. I would encourage you to push the frontiers of social work by testing existing theories, developing new theories, and building the knowledge on social work and development. Be courageous to tread on new paths not traveled. Because remember, even if you fail, it's not a failure. It is an opportunity to learn and maybe to re-look at something and come up with something more fascinating than what you had done earlier. And also remember, at the end of the day, even if you have helped just one person, you have done God's work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for taking the time to speak to us today on such an important topic. It was really an informative and enlightening session. We had posted the link for the feedback form, so I kindly request everyone to fill the feedback form. Okay. Next, we will go ahead and take them some time to clarify the doubts. Participants can ask your questions or clarify your doubts. I repeat, participants.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Vinita, you can post your question in the chat box.
Participants, you can ask your questions or you can clarify your doubts.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hello,
Good afternoon.
Can you please share your perspective about the specification of gender-based jobs in the field of social work, especially in the sectors like counseling, research, etc.?
Yes, I think when it comes to the area of counseling, we have found that when it is when boys have been sexually abused or violated, they find it difficult to be speaking to a female social caseworker, and they prefer a male. Similarly, girls would prefer a female social caseworker to talk to rather than a male. So when there is a role for female social workers when it comes to social casework and counseling. There's no doubt about it. As for in the field, in the community, surely, I mean, you know, the female social caseworker can be an excellent community organizer. It need not be gender-based alone, like only organizing women. You could also organize youth, you could organize men, you can do it. I don't think, I think what a community looks at is, are you a person who respects them and gives them the dignity? Are you the person that would really support them? Or are you doing it just because it's just a job, you know? Or are you doing it because you're getting some money to do it? So I think when it comes to working in communities, it doesn't matter what your gender is. But in counseling, yes, I would say that the gender matters.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Hello.
Yes.
Hello, ma'am. My name is Shruti, and I'm just curious to know about what was your inspiration to start such an amazing organization for, especially for the children? And is there any inspiration stories behind it which might help the emerging social workers?
What is the inspiration behind starting Butterflies?
Well, you want to know what my inspiration has been to start Butterflies?
Yeah.
Well, you know, when I'll briefly say it. While I was a faculty at Tata Institute of Social Sciences, I had to every day take the local trains to go to the institute, and at the railway stations and the trains, I used to see a lot of these kids. And it always intrigued me as to who they were, you know, and why were they there and without any adult accompanying them. So I started having conversations with them. And I was kind of taken aback when I knew that a good number of them had really left homes and were on the streets by themselves and were working. And at that time, most of the organizations that were working with street-connected children had institutions for children. And some of these boys who had been into institutions but were older teenagers, they were telling me that once you leave an institution, you have left it. You cannot go back because they have other children to take care of. And that's when I realized that one needs to study more about street-connected children. And I did a study. I did a study for UNICEF along with Assistant Professor Dr. Nangia from JNU. We did the first study on street children in India. And then I did a 1 year. I visited 5 pioneering organizations who were working with street children. And I must say, the founders of those organizations, very charismatic. They were so generous with their learnings. They were so generous in sharing their journeys with me, their challenges with me. They gave me the permission to meet the children, their staff, and that gave me a wealth of knowledge and information, which I would have never got from any other research study. And I realized one thing from this a year-long study. I realized that if I have to work with street-connected children, because I say street-connected because street children are not always by themselves. They do have families. They're not orphans. So I realized that if I have to work with street-connected children, the organization will be non-institutional, and it would be based on democratic principles, and children's participation will be the core value of our organization. And that's how I started Butterflies. I used to walk the streets of Delhi myself in the earlier years. I met some fascinating children. I continue to meet fascinating children. And I think they are my inspiration.
Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Yes.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Hima George, and thank you for that wonderful lecture. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was very knowledgeable. And I have a question. Ethical conflict while working in the organization, and if so, how did you handle it?
I didn't get yours. Half of your question was not audible.
Oh, sorry, ma'am, I may repeat it for you. Have you ever experienced an ethnical conflict while working with the organization?
Ethnical conflict or ethical?
Ethnical, ma'am.
Ethnical, no, because Butterflies is a secular organization, and we work with all groups of children. And I must say that in the earlier years of our work, most of the kids that were in Delhi were children who came from the Dalit background, and they were Hindus primarily. But in the last 20, 25 years, we have seen a shift in the demography of these children, and most of them happen to be Muslims. And that is because of the great economic distress that is there with the Muslim population in the northern belt of India. And most of the kids in Delhi are either from UP, Bihar, and Madhya Pradesh or Rajasthan. And we have found that that is a reason, and that they are more of them are on the streets. No, I don't think I have had any problems with it. And in fact, even in Butterflies, most of my colleagues, they are from different religious backgrounds, as well as caste backgrounds. And they also come from different states in India.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for sharing a wonderful section. As you said about the inspirational story behind your success, can you say how you come up with the beautiful name Butterflies for your NGO, and an unforgettable incident while working with Butterflies?
Yes. The name Butterflies was actually given by my husband, Jerry, who's no more. When I was wanting to give a name to the organization, I was very clear that it shouldn't be any patronizing names, like Child Hope or, Child Develop. And I didn't want any of those. I wanted a name that would even inspire children. So Jerry came up with this name, Butterflies, and then we started mulling it over our brains, and it was so apt because butterflies is the most beautiful creature of nature. It's so colorful and unique, and similarly, children are the most beautiful people of the human race, and they're unique, and they're as beautiful and colorful. And just as Butterflies has a short-lived life, similarly, the street-connected children, their childhood is so compromised very early in life. But as Butterflies can fly and soar, so too the children should have the freedom to fly and reach for the stars, reach for their dreams with open eyes. And that's why butterflies. And an incident that really shook me was when I was doing this study on street children. I remember visiting the New Delhi railway station and having an interview with the SHO, the station house officer of the New Delhi railway station, wanting to know more about the children at the station. And with me was, of course, Dr. Praveen Angia. And as we were sitting, this gentleman, and talking to him, I could hear a squeal, kind of a very, very unnatural squeal I could hear every now and then. And I wondered where that squeal was from. So the next time that I heard that squeal, I bent down to look what it was. And I found that this child was about 12 years old, was tied up into a fetal position. And this SHO every now and then was kicking him with his boot. I was horrified. I stood up and I told him that you shouldn't be doing this. It's against the law. I mean, you just cannot do this. And he was furious with Dr. Praveen Nangia and me, and he wanted us to get out of the police station. But that incident has remained with me. And maybe that's also the reason that made me, push myself that, yes, I should be working with this group of kids.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
Ma'am, there is a question for you.
Ma'am, there is a question from Vinita KM. And the question, can you please explain something about tele-counseling method?
Where is it? On mental health of adolescents relating to current scenario. Yeah, and can you explain something about tele-counseling method? Okay, methodology. Yeah, I have to say that the adolescents are going through a tremendous stress right now. I mean, we can, apart from us having our face-to-face counseling with them, we can sense it every time we meet them, or that they are very much stressed out and anxious about their future. And when I say future, they're worried if they will be able to continue their education. They're worried if they will be able to get a good job. They're worried what will happen to their families, because the fathers have lost their jobs, the mothers have lost their job. Money is a big issue for them. And so all that put together is a major issue. But apart from that, you must understand that adolescent is a phase in life which is it's a troublesome, very complex phase in our life, adolescent phase. That's the time when you want to experiment, you want to take risk, and that's where we then fall into problematic behavior. So, and this is part of growing up. And unless there are mentors, significant adults in the lives of these children who can show them the path and help them through this difficult phase and to kind of prevent them into a risk behavior becomes very, very important. So how do you do it? It may not always be counseling or social casework, but you need to have focus group discussions with the adolescents, not in a very, very formal setting, but more of a conversation, freewheeling, where question and answers are asked, and the kids can ask you very openly questions without them having the fear that you would kind of that their impressions will be lost with us. No, I mean without fear of us judging them. So this becomes important. Adolescents today, we need to engage with them because they are forming their own support groups, and they are into the internet, which is really, really giving them information. Some of them are not, which I don't think the kids are able to decode them. So we are having a when we talk about adolescent. As for telecounseling, telecounseling is good. I wouldn't say it's bad. It is because who can call up and say I'm in difficulties and I need. Yes, it is very important. And if Vanita, you wanted, maybe there are a number of. If you Google, you may find some of the recorded webinars on telecounseling training that has been held in the last 12 months or so. You can watch it and gather information about it. But otherwise, if you really want to know more about it, you could also write to NIMHANS, because NIMHANS is going a big way in having series of training programs on telecounseling. And if I'm not mistaken, they have also tied up with the Ministry of Women and Child Development, Government of India, to organize trainings for their the various stakeholders in the government system too. I hope I've answered your question, Vanita.
Thank you, ma'am. There is another question from Vaishak. He would like to hear on the new approaches initiated by the butterflies to tackle the issues faced by the children due to the unpredictable precedented pandemic.
Okay. And like Butterflies is one of the pioneer organizations, not just in India, but globally when it comes to children's cooperatives. In 1995, we began our first cooperative, and it's called Child Health Cooperative, and today it is called Child Health and Sports Cooperative. And we have a children's development khazana, which is actually teaching children financial management and cooperative banking. Now, these two cooperatives has actually been of great support to children during this pandemic. The Child Health and Sports Cooperative have taught children how to lead safe and healthy lives, but also emotionally well life. So we have the members who elect and are selected to as child health educators. They know how to wash their hands and the importance of wearing masks and physical distancing. We have sports educators who organize sports, but also to see that the sports are inclusive and not exclusive. And we have buddies. Buddies are children who are trained in basic communications and counseling. And as you know, children normally, when they are in trouble, they reach out to their friends, their peers, not necessarily to an adult. So the buddies are their first person to whom they reach out and share what their concerns are. And then the buddy would help them out and then also support them to go to, to go to the social caseworker to take the case further. The buddies play a very crucial role. And in fact, during this pandemic, they have been calling each other to find out how they are doing, if they're fine or they're not fine. And in one contact point, I must say that the buddy was calling all the members, I think practically every day. And at one point, the members had to say, hey, stop it. If I have an issue, I'll call you back. Don't keep asking me if I have a problem, I have a problem. If I do have a problem, I'll let you know. So the buddies are frontline, what I would say, barefoot, I wouldn't want to say counselors, but barefoot, what should I say? Social workers, caseworkers who listen to their friends. And the sports educators, what we have found is that because sports, as all of us know, is a good therapy. And today it becomes even more important for children to go out and play. And it's good for your physical health, but mentally, I think it helps you to improve your emotional well-being. It helps you to make new friends. It helps you to be focused. It helps you to follow the rules and to take the failures and success in the right way. And the sports educator also, they keep an eye on their friends when they're playing games to see if there is anybody who's being too aggressive. Then after the sports, they speak about that aggressiveness of the person on the field, or if they find that there is a friend who used to be very active in sports is not anymore interested in playing. So it means there's something going on in his or her life. So that's one innovation which we have brought, and today it is there in about 7 other states in India. We are running this cooperative in Kerala. It is with Shreyas in Wayanad. And the Children's Development Khazana and the cooperative is also in 8 countries in the world. And the Khazana has helped children during the pandemic for them to take advances from the Khazana and take this money to help out their parents and family who needed the money for food or to pay their rent. So these are innovations that Butterflies has done and which is now internationally recognized too. Even our education program today is organized as a cooperative. We call it the cooperative learning. So our whole approach of working with children is on the conceptual framework of cooperatives.
Good afternoon, ma'am. It had been a grateful session to hear from you. I would like to clarify a couple of... Okay, thank you, sir. I would like to clarify a couple of things from you. As we know, the Butterfly NGO has got a great program called Mobile Schools. So I would like to know how far it is consistent, the beautiful part of that, and how far it has been executed in means region-wise, area-wise. Secondly, I would like to know about what's your opinion regarding the emerging social workers. In which area should they do research in this present scenario or science of time?
Okay, thank you. The mobile schools, I think, has been extremely successful in Delhi as well as in Uttarakhand state. What it does is that the mobile school has everything in it as any other school will have. So it has whiteboard, it has LCDs, it has library, it has first aid kits, it has indoor games, outdoor games, and it has teachers who go to different areas and conduct formal schooling. Because I must say here that Butterflies does not believe in non-formal education. We think that short charges the poor, and every child should go to formal school. So what we do is the mobile school is helping children to come up to a certain level and then admit them into formal school. And those who are already in the formal school, the mobile school is the one that takes up their homework and their study classes so that their learning levels are improved and they continue to be in school and do not drop out. In Uttarakhand state, the Uttarakhand state government invited Butterflies and requested us to run mobile schools. And we are running mobile schools in Uttarakhand in state since 2008. And it has been doing very well. We have been able to put a number of children in different districts into formal schools, and then we track them. So in terms of teaching methodology, I think in the beginning, if the kids have not been into school, then you need to have more of a methodology that is creative. The teachers need to be like magicians. You need to have a bag of tricks to get the children to come and be attracted and to stay in one place and to be attentive. So you need to be very creative as a teacher, and you need to be innovative. But at the same time, not to lose the seriousness of studies, and that the children are studying and are retaining whatever is being taught. So it's a very important component of our education program. And the very fact that the mobile school goes to some very remote hilly areas in Uttarakhand and is able to get the children to continue their education and then put them into formal school, and to see that the parents of those children are part of the parent-teacher association and as part of the school management committee has really made it that the kids continue their studies. So yes, it's been good. It is an important, I would say, to access children who are living remotely or access children who are not going to school, and then to get them into formal school and then to track them, but also to continue hand-holding them and continuing their studies. As for what's the new areas that a professional social worker should be working in, I would say that it's difficult for me to give you a mantra and tell you that no, go and work here or go and work in that area. No, there's something that is there in you, a passion that you would like to work, perhaps with youth, perhaps with adolescents, perhaps with women, perhaps with children, perhaps with communities. Then I think you need to look for those opportunities and work there. But what I would like to say is that wherever you want to work, because all these areas are important, it's not going to go away. Working with women or adolescents or youth or farmers or artisans or fishermen or children or communities are not going to go away. In fact, they're going to be there. In fact, I would say that the whole area of livelihoods is something that is going to be a major issue in most of these marginalized communities. You know, organizing them around livelihoods, organizing them into cooperatives is something that you can think of also. But whatever you do, I would say, please put a lens of also research. Because as practitioners, what I find is that you get so caught up with doing the work that you do not gather the knowledge. And that is so very important, because any academician will tell you that they would value this kind of knowledge, which they can use in their research and which they can use in teaching students. So therefore, even if you're a practitioner, I would say that you must have within you, the passion to learn and to do research. Research is not any rocket science. You can learn and you can do it. You must have that. Don't be afraid to make so-called quote unquote mistakes, or failures. Nothing. They're all stepping stones. I mean, they're all opportunities. They're all learning. So I would say that, my young friend, go after the passion that you want to do. If it's livelihoods, cooperatives, go ahead and work there. If it is youth, go ahead and work there. If it is to be with adolescents or women, children, communities, go ahead. Because you can paint and draw your canvas along with the target group you're working with. It should be a participatory way of growing, a participatory way of advancing, of making the poor marginalized to be able to really get off this generational poverty and reach, and get all the progress and development which others are able to access, but they are not able to. So I would say, go after your passion and your dream. I hope I've answered you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, due to the time constraint, we are concluding the interactive session. So thank you, ma'am, and thank you everyone for your participation to make this session more interactive. Now to deliver vote of thanks, I invite Ms. Grishma Mani, Student Coordinator.
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to one and all gathered here, honorable dignitaries, teachers, and participants. On this wonderful occasion, I feel immense pleasure to take this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks. On behalf of all the dignitaries and participants, first of all, my most sincere thanks to the God Almighty for making this event as a grand success. Next, I would like to express my sincere thanks to our speaker, Mrs. Ritha Panicker, for enlightening with us her knowledge, and it was a very fruitful session to all the participants. And I think she gave a deep insight into the topic and also has enlightened the problems of poor and marginalized society as well. And she also enhanced the importance of mental health, especially among the children during this pandemic. And I think she is truly an inspire to all of us. And I'm pretty sure the precious knowledge that Mrs. Ritha Panicker gave us will definitely help us in our studies and in our future. And once again, I would like to thank you. And I would like to express my gratitude to Mrs. Ritha Panicker for taking out time from her busy schedule. And thank you so much, ma'am. And next, I would like to, I take this opportunity to express my deep regard to Mrs. Rosemary T. George, head of the Department of Social Work, for being that catalyst that inspired us to do our best and stand as a pillar of strength. With deep sense of appreciation, I thank our loving teachers for their untiring efforts. And I also want to thank the people who worked behind the scene to execute the event. And last but not least, our beloved participants for making this function as a grand success. And without you guys, this event would not be a success. I hope you all got a deeper knowledge about the topic, and it will be a great opportunity to all of you. Thank you so much all. And I hereby sincerely thank each and everyone wholeheartedly for glorifying this event with your gracious presence. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Ritha. Now I kindly request you all to switch on the camera to pose for a group photo. I kindly request every participant to switch on the camera to pose for a group photo. Okay. Thank you each and everyone for joining with us today, and hope to see you all again next time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ritha ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much.